Okay, welcome everyone. As we have a very big simcha tonight, we're going to be finishing the very difficult parak of Ezah Neshech. So that will be a siyum on the two of the hardest prakim in Shas, Hazav and Ezah Neshech. So we really are very fortunate. Only the beginning of tonight's daf is a little bit challenging, and then the daf is going to be easier. So it's a more easy night tonight. So I see Mark Frankel had inside information, and he knew it was an easier night, so he decided to drop in. We are going to welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Jay Siegel, Saba, Eddie Chazan, Dr. Guy, Michal, Shelley Zeitlin, Aaron Swade, Shimon Klein, Dr. Yudel, Mark Frankel, Shalom Fogel, and that is Itchy. Oh, nice to see you, Itchy. And Baruch Ian, Shimon Deer, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Yitzi Fuchs, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Abe Arbach, and we are just being joined now also by Menachem Yemansky and Nachman Chapler. I'm telling you, in this year, every second we get richer and richer. And talking about richer, here's Rich Leonard and Reb Kramer, Berish Gesserman, and I hear him lurking in the background, Gedalia Engel, and it is Gedalia Engel, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. We are holding by the new Mishnah on Ayin Dalet Amud Beis, new Mishnah on Ayin Dalet Amud Beis, and basically, the idea of this Mishnah is that if, let's say, Mark has Shelley as his sharecropper, if Mark supplies Shelley with the seeds, and then Shelley repays him later on, that could be a problem of interest. When it's not a problem of interest is if it's not a loan, but rather Mark makes a different sharecropper arrangement because he's providing the seed. So then that's not a loan, that's just a different sharecropper arrangement. So we'll see that sometimes it's going to be permitted and sometimes it's not. If, however, Shelley is borrowing it for food, so then it's not part of the sharecropper arrangement, so then, of course, it's a problem of sa, where he gives him the seed now, gives it to him back later, it might be worth more, and that would be a problem of ribbis. So let's see that inside as we first of all, Rabbi say, let me give you an update on our Chavrei Hadaf. Ruvain Shannon was moved to Robert Wood Johnson Hospital so that he could have an angiogram and possibly a stent. So he is actually, I was in touch with him today, he is actually undergoing the procedure now, so we should have him in mind. Ruvain Yitzchak ben Devora, he should have a refuah shalema b'seg shachar Yisrael. At the time today, our Chaver Adaf Michal Avram had a cataract procedure on his other eye. A few weeks ago he had one cataract procedure. Now he's having it on his other eye. So we learned for Michael Avram ben Iris, you should have refuah shalem b'seg shachar Yisrael. Also delighted to report to the Olam that on Sunday I went in to be Menachem Oval Yitzi Padower. Also I spent an hour visiting Barry Cement. And I'm delighted to tell you that he came home on Sunday. So Barry is home. He was really chipper and good. So I told him that if he's not back soon, he'll really have to go back to the nursing home when I finish up with him. So hopefully we're going to get him back soon. Pinchas Menachem ben Leah, he should have a refuah shalema b'sech she'achel Yisrael. And the Mishnah tells us, Malva Odom es Aris of Chitin bechitin, Mark could give a loan to Shelley, his sharecropper, of wheat to be repaid lezera if he's giving it for seed, avaloi lechel, but not if it's Shelley is borrowing it not for the field, so it's not part of the sharecropper arrangement, but it's a mere loan, because then when he pays back the seed, it might be worth more, and it would be a problem of ribbis. Now, Shahayu Rabbi Gamliel. Now here, the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Gamliel did this practice, but he never took the seed back at a higher rate. Shei Rabbi Gamliel malva esaris of chitin bechitin lezera. The Rabbi Gamliel would provide his sharecropper wheat for wheat. In other words, he would provide seed to get it back. Biyoker v'huzlu, if it was worth more and then it went down in price, or if it was worth less and it went up, he would never take later on seed in the same amount if it was more valuable. Only noitomem keshar azul. He only took the lower price. And not because the halacha is that way, because we said if it was structured in the sharecropping arrangement, then it's not a loan. He wanted to look above suspicion. He wanted to be machmer. Tan Rabbanan. Now here, the Gemara makes a distinction that the Mishnah does not make. Tan Rabbanan, malva adam es arisav. Chitin bechitin, a person could give a loan to his sharecroppers, wheat for wheat lezera, but bamedvar mamurim shelo yarad. That's only if he did the arrangement before. That's only when Mark made the arrangement with Shelley before he went down to do work. So therefore, it is not a loan, but it's a part of the sharecropping arrangement. Aval yarad, but once Shelley went down to do work, it's aser. Now, our Mishnah does not make this distinction. So right away the Gemara says, why does our Mishnah not make a distinction ben yarad, ben lo yarad, whether he started working or not? Or Maishna Tana Bra, and why the Brisa the kamaflik ben yarad, ben lo yarad? So Amar Rava, Rava says, Rav Idi Asber Nihali. Rav Idi explained it to me. But Asra de Tana Didan in the locality of our Tana, Arisa Yov Bizra, Shelley is supposed to provide the seed. So that's the arrangement. Until Shelley doesn't provide the seed, Mark could back out of the whole arrangement. So Bein Yarad, Bein Lo Yarad makes no difference if Shelley already started. If he didn't provide the seed yet, the job was not activated yet. So Bein Yarad, Bein Lo Yarad, Kamadalo Yav Bizra, before Shelley provides the seed, Matzi Masliklei. Mark could evict him. Mark could say, you know what, I'm going to get a different sharecropper. So the key kanachas, and then therefore when Mark says, look, I'll provide the seed, it's not a loan, but rather it's part of the sharecropping arrangement. So it's for a reduced percentage because of the seed, and therefore it's part of the sharecropping arrangement. It's not considered a loan. However, Asra de Tana Bra, but in the place of the Brisa, Mark is supposed to usually provide the seed. Mariara Yov Bizra. So Mark is supposed to provide the seed, and therefore, Ilo Yared, if Shelley didn't go down yet, so the job isn't activated, the Matzi Maslik like he nachis. So now when they made up that Mark is going to provide the seed it was just made up, therefore for a reduced percentage, and it's not construed as a loan. But if he went down already, because here he cannot remove him, so therefore now when he says, I'll provide you the seed to be returned later, that's not part of the deal anymore, that's a loan also. Rabbanon, bottom line, Ayin Daled Amud Beis, as we're about to start the last daf of Ezel Neshech. I have to tell you, Rabbi say, I found these two prakim very hard. Not hard, but very hard. See, Gedalia says, well, it was a walk in the park, but I don't know. Right. It must be a very dangerous park. Tanrabana. He's talking about a walk in the park in Rafa. Tanrabana. Aimer Adam Lechaveirai. I could tell who would be Chaveiro. I could tell Marshall. Hilveni kur chitin. Give me a loan of a kur of wheat. But now, if he doesn't have the wheat and the is no fixed price yet in the market, that would be a problem if he paid me back a kur of wheat, because the kur of wheat later might be worth more, and that would be ribbis. So I could tell him, Hilveni kur chitin, which is worth $500. We make up $500. Huzlu, if the price of wheat went down, so then nice and like chitim, he gives me a kur of wheat. Hokru, if the kur of wheat went up to $600, then he can't give me a kur of wheat because then he's giving me more. So then nice in the main, he gives me the $500. So the Gemara says, hold everything. That doesn't make sense. If we made up a price, if a kur of wheat goes down to $400, why could he give me a kur of wheat? We made up $500. We made up an amount. Says, you're right. This is what it means. If Marshall says, give me a loan of a kur of wheat, and we didn't fix a price, so then if the kur of wheat goes down in value, he gives me back a kur of wheat. Hokru, if it goes up in value, $100, then he can't give me the kur of wheat because then he's giving me $100 extra, which would be ribbis. Then I sing the mayim, then he gives me only what it was worth at the time when I gave him the loan, $500. Now, obviously, we said that sa b'sa is mutter if we have one of two conditions. Either that I gave Mark a loan of a kur of wheat and he has a kur of wheat in the house, so therefore even if it goes up in value he could give it to me because we view it as if the kur of wheat in his house was already mine and it went up in my possession. Or if I gave him and there was a fixed rate already in the marketplace, so even if he doesn't have it, he could have bought it, so that's enough. But if you don't have those conditions, so lo yamer adam al-chaveri hilveni kur, then Mark cannot tell me, give me a loan of a kur chitin v'ani eten loch l'gayrin, and I'll replace it 6 months from now at the threshing season, because then it might be worth more, and that would be ribbis. However, aval aymaloi hilveni, but Mark could tell me, give me a loan, at sheyavei b'ni, until my son comes home, who has the key to the silo, or until I find the key, because that's considered as yeshloi. He has it in his silo, so that's allowed. However, Hillel holds that the T'nai of Yeshloi is not enough, we don't paskin like Hillel. As the Gemara is going to say, less Hilchas Kavase. Also, Hillel is machmer even with small domestic loans, which we don't hold like either. But a woman cannot say, you know what, I didn't buy chalas, could I borrow one of your chalas this week, and I'll give you back next week? You cannot do that until she says, give me the challah worth $4.50, and I'll return you back a challah worth $4.50 next week. Because if you don't do that, Shema Yukra Chitin, maybe next week the challah will be worth $6, v'nimtza bas lidei ribis, and it'll turn out ribis. And of course, the Chachamim argue, and they say that there's no ribis by such a domestic loan, and we paskin, again, not like Hillel. I just want to tell you, for those that came in later, to everybody's disappointment, the rest of this perek is not hard. I know, look at Ruvain Pollock. He's mamish miserable. I'm sorry, Ruvain. Here he thought, he always says, Ruvain always says, where's the beef? He gets excited with a good piece of creases, or a good piece of b'chayris. But most of us, Ruvain, are not that way, most of us like brachas. What could I tell you? There's a reason why Daf Yomi starts with brachas. If Daf Yomi would start with b'chayris, there would be a lot less people learning Daf Yomi. Yeah, that's... something used to be that people would get lost in Eruvin. When Artsko came around, people stopped getting lost in Eruvin. It stopped being an impediment. The pictures were so clear. And now the real first hard stop when you start Shas is Yishalmi Shkol. That really is the first real hard stop. That really shocks people. But anyway, okay. Rav Huna. So Rav Huna takes the idea of Yeshloi literally. That I could give Mark a loan of a saw and he could return me a saw if he has a saw in the house. And I could give him 2 saw if he has 2 saw in the house. If he has a saw in the house, I could give him a loan of a saw. Because the saw that he has in the house is considered like it's already mine. So if it goes up in value, it goes up in my property. So Sayim, if he has 2 saw, then loivus Sayim. He could borrow for me 2 saw. Reb Yitzchak comes up with a real chap. Reb Yitzchak says that the fact that he has a saw, so he could take a loan from me of a saw, the saw that he has in the house, I never made a kinyan on. It's not collateral or anything. It's just a legal fiction that once he has a saw, so I could give him a loan of a saw, and it's not considered a vakribis because it's like it's already mine. It's not really already mine. So Reb Yitzchak says he could use that saw over and over and over and over again. So I could give Mark 30 saw, and he uses that saw for the first saw that I give him, and the second saw that I give him, and the third saw that I give him, and he uses it over and over and over again. Let's see it inside. Reb Yitzchak, Afilu Yeshlei saw, Loiva love Kama Kurin. 3 kur is 90 saw. But on each, we view it as a separate loan, one loan of a saw, another loan of a saw, another loan of a saw, and he keeps on using that one saw with the legal fiction over and over again. And the Gemara says, we have a raya like Reb Yitzchak, Tani Reb Chilis Yule Reb Yitzchak, Tipas Yayin Ein Loi, you cannot deal with a forward contract on wine if Mark doesn't have a drop of wine, or tipa shemen ein lei, or if he doesn't have a drop of oil. But hayesh lei, but if he does, leiva le kama tipin, you can rely on it with many drops. Now Hillel doesn't hold of the whole business of yesh lei. What yesh lei? Mark has a saw. So what? It's not my saw, it's his saw. What does it help? When he gives me the saw later, it's worth more, it's ribbis. Rav Nachman Shmuel, halach k'divrei Hillel, however, v'les hilchos hakavase. The halacha is not like Hillel, but rather we say of the stipulation of yesh lei. V'chein hoye Hillel leimer leisal v'isha, Hillel holds that you can't do a domestic loan. Rav Yehuda Shmuel, zu divrei Hillel, ava chacham maimrim, but the chacham say love him stam, she could take the challah this week or Purim stam and pay up next week, and you don't have to price it out. However, now the Gemara tells us sometimes you have people that are very particular one with the other. You're taking a piece of my pastrami sandwich? Are you taking a quarter of the sandwich? You better give me a quarter of your corned beef. No, that's not a quarter. No, that's that. There's not a lot of meat in that part. So the Gemara says, if members of a group are very, very particular one with the other, excuse me, your part had no mustard on it, and they're very particular one with another. Why is Marshall nodding his head? He wants the thicker part of the Frankfurter.
My head's loose on its mouth.
Yeah. Says the Gemara, Oivrim Mishum, if they're so particular, they will transgress if they eat on Shabbos, Mishum Mida, for the prohibition of measuring. You're not allowed to measure on Shabbos, because measuring on Shabbos looks like a business deal. Or Mishum Mishkel, you're not allowed to weigh on Shabbos. Or Mishum Minyan, you're not allowed to give a specific number. Or Mishum Lovin or Purim B'Yomtiv. And also, because if he says, okay, I'll borrow from you that half a matzah and give it back on Shalosh Shavuos, if they're so particular, you're not supposed to say the word loiva on Shabbos, because you might come to write a shtar. Now, the word she'ela is allowed, but not loiva. But since they're so particular, they'll sin with this. Ukedivrei Beis Hillel, and according to Beis Hillel, af mishum ribis, they'll be also over on, because he holds that in domestic loans there's ribis. V'amar Yehuda Shmuel, and this is a very interesting psak of Shmuel, that Talmidei Chachamim could give back a little extra, because it's not ribis, rather it's a tip, it's a gift. Talmidei Chachamim utorim l'lavos zeh mizeh b'ribis, they could give back a little bit more. My timer, why? Meidi yadei de ribis asura. They know that ribis is asur. Matani diyavei adadi. They're just giving a little gift of appreciation. Amalei Shmuel Avua bar Ihi. Shmuel said to Avua bar Ihi, Halveini mea palpalin, give me a loan of 100 peppers. B'meya v'esrim palpalim, I'll give you back 120. V'arech, and it's okay. As Rashi says, arech means shapardami. It's okay. Huh? What the Gemara is saying is that here it's not construed as interest. It's a tip. It's a tip. It's not interest.
Another person, an average person, doesn't have the prerogative to do that.
Right. He doesn't have that distinction of mind. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Marav, this is another heter which the Gemara does not like. And we welcome in Sandy Grunfeld joining us. You know, Sandy is here for the grand finale of Ezel Neshech. What a simcha. I really feel like getting up and doing a dance. I really do. I really feel like getting up, and if the whole island would be here, I would do a real Rakida. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Mutaloi la'adam lahalvis banav b'nei beisai beribis. A person could give to his sons or his in-law children, b'nei beisai, could mean his wife, or it could mean his in-law children. He could give them loans with interest. Now, why? Because he wants them to get the taste. It's matam chinuch, that they should get the taste of the bitterness of interest. Kidei latimon tam ribis, that they should never do it. However, v'lav milsi, but this is not so. Mishum da'asi l'misruch, because if they see the practice, they might come to repeat it, and they might come to give loans with interest. So that shouldn't be done. Aimer adam l'chaveiroi, I could tell Eddie, nakesh imi, weed my field today, v'anakesh imcha, and I'll weed your field on Wednesday. Now, we're not worried that in the interim, the price of labor, the minimum wage, will go up, and it would be then interest. Adori mi, hold for me, the edori mach, and I will hold for you. However, we can't do different services because one might be worth more than the other. However, lo it can't say weed for me today, and I'll hold for you on Wednesday. Or adori mi, hold for me today, v'anake shimcha, and I'll weed for you on Wednesday, because there it might be more valuable, and then that would be ribis. Turning the page, the last page of Ezel Neshech. Kol yemei gored echad, all the days of hoeing in the dry season is the same. It's the same price. And kol yemei revia achas, and all the days of the rain season is the same. However, I can't tell Eddie, plow for me during the dry season, and I will plow for you in the rain season, because that has different values. Rabbi Gamliel says, Yesh ribis mukdemes v'yesh ribis mucheres. There's prefatory ribis, and there's subsequent ribis. Ketzad. If, let's say, I get a hankering to take a loan from Mel, and I send him this elaborate fruit basket, and I say to him, this is in order that you should give me a loan, so that's zui ribis mukdemis, that's prefatory ribis. If I take a loan from Mel, and I return him his money, and then afterwards I send him a set of an Artsko Yushalmi. It's because your money was sitting by me. Zui ribis mucheres. This is post ribis, which is also a type of avak ribis. Reb Shimon Aimer yesh ribis devarim. There's even interest with words. If Mel gives me a loan, and I know that Mel was waiting very much for a certain philanthropist to come because he wants to ask him for a big donation for Ohel, so lo yomeloi, I shouldn't be on the lookout for him and tell him, Daki boish pleini mamakam pleini. This very Mr. Schottenstein has arrived from town, because I'm on the lookout and I'm telling him this because he gave me a loan. The Elu will see that we dash in from a pasuk that even a dvar, even a word, could be ribis. The Elu Ivim b'loisase. The following transgress the loisase of ribis. Hamalva, the one that gives the loan. V'aloiva, the one that takes the loan. V'arev, the guarantor. V'edim, and the witnesses. The Chacham say also the clerk that draws up the document. The Chacham Maimim Afa Sefer. Now there's a lot of lavim. Over mishum loy sitain. They're over the lav of leisitain loy beneshech, or mishum al tikach me itoy neshech besarbis, or mishum leisia loy kenoisha, you shouldn't press for such a loan, or mishum beleisa siman olav nesech, or mishum lefnei iver leisitain michshal, because the loive is causing the malva to sin, the malva is causing the loive to sin. Lefnei iver leisitain michshal v'yoreisem elikecha ani Hashem. Tanya. So a lot of times we're zeicher to learn Rab Shimon ben Yochai in the Teres HaNister, in the Zohar. Here we learn Rab Shimon ben Yochai in the Teres HaNigla. Tanya Rab Shimon ben Yochai Omer. We're not used to going so fast. Shelley says, I don't know what's happening. It doesn't feel like the daf. Maybe you should call ahead and warn your wives. You might be home a little early.
Book room 208, guys.
Tanya, I told Barry Marshall that he should come back and give you some relief. We need to encourage him. He needs to get back into it. It would be very, very good for him.
I'm trying. I'm texting him all the time.
No, it would be very good for him because he's home the whole day. It's not easy. Not easy. Tanya, Reb Shimon Yochai Omer, Menayin l'noishe b'chaverei mana. How do you know that in the event that I owe Mel $100, and I don't usually extend him greeting, which is not true. I always extend him greeting, but I don't usually extend him greeting. Then because he gave me a loan, I'm not allowed to go out of my way and extend him a greeting. Interest, any matter, any dover is a word. Called davar asher yishach, afilu dibar, even extra words are forbidden. The Elu Ivan, Amar Abaya, Malva Iver Bekul. The one that gave the loan is over with all of them. Loiva, who takes the loan, Iver Mishum Loi Sashich Lachicha, he should not accept the interest bearing loan. Ulachicha Loi Sashich, should not accept this from his brother. Arava Adam, as Taisus explains, in a place where you could get other Adam, and he would give the loan even without a guarantor, so there's no Lifnei Iver. They are responsible for the placing of the interest-bearing loan. Tanya, Reb Shimon Omer Malvei Ribis, people who extend loans with interest, Yoisim Shemarvichim, more than what they gain, even though they're charging 18%, Mapsidin. They lose, because if remember we said throughout the parach that if you take interest, then Nichseyem Mismoitetin, then your whole estate falters. But not only that, you're making it that it looks like Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't wise. This is a euphemism. It means that you make Moshe Rabbeinu look like he's not smart. And his Torah is a lie. And it's as if you said, they're not businessmen. If they would know that business needs to operate this way, without this, there would be no extension of credit, and there would be no lubrication of available loans. That there's a profit in this, not only for the lender, but also the borrower, that he should have an open line of credit. He wouldn't do it. So it makes you look like you're smarter than Moshe Rabbeinu and the Torah. This This is something that's very hard about a loan. You gave a guy $5,000. He promised you to pay you in 30 days. It's now 60 days and the guy didn't pay. So, how do you know that if you gave somebody a loan, and you know he just doesn't have it? Not only you're not allowed to ask him, but you can't pass in front of him to make him feel bad. You shouldn't appear to be pressing him. This is why I always explain what it says in the Torah. It says in the Torah, Im kesef tal ve'ezami. And Rashi over there says a famous statement that this is one of the places that im is a requirement, even though it says if. So Rashi says this is one of the places where it's a requirement. He's got to give loans. But I always wanted to learn, Rashi is Rashi, but I think I had Rishonim to rely upon. Chas v'shalom, I wouldn't argue on Rashi. That the Torah is saying that loans are not for everyone. Truth of the matter is you have to have a cast iron stomach to give loans. If you can't hold yourself back, look, I gave you the loan, I need the money. What's going on over here? If you can't do that, then use your discretionary money and give tzedakah. You have discretionary money. You have this year, you have $20,000 discretionary money. You can give it as loans. But if you're the type of guy, you gave somebody $5,000, he promised you and give it back, I'll have it in 30 days, and he doesn't have it, you're gonna press him, then give the $5,000 tzedakah. You see, a loan, the Rambam says a loan is a bigger mitzvah. Because first of all, with that $5,000, you could do many mitzvahs. And secondly, you don't shame the person in taking charity. So v'achzaktaba is big, but you have to have a cast iron stomach. If he doesn't pay, you can't. No. What kind of a person are you? So anyway, the Gemara says that and you know he doesn't have it. You have to. Oh, he's there. I better go out the other door. You shouldn't be press him. The Gemara says you should know that when he owes you money and he sees you, he has suffering like he passed through fire and water. As the Gemara tells us, when you pass by him and he feels bad that he can't pay you, it's as if you put him through two judgments. You rode people over our heads. Reishenu was from the lashon of Noisha. People came and pressed us. We went through fire and water. I'm Rav Yudah Marav. This is another big nesayin. You give your friend a loan. You're embarrassed to say, let's have witnesses. You're embarrassed to say, let's write me a document. But I don't trust you. You're my friend. Oh, you're asking for trouble. Because people don't remember. If you have money and you give it without witnesses, because then you're tempting the person to deny it. You get yourself cursed because the person doesn't remember it and will call you a liar, and then people will say about you that you're a liar. Shenemar te'alamna sifsei sheker. You'll become mute, lying lips, hadovers al tzadik asik, that say about a righteous man that he's not paying. Because people will say, what do you mean? We don't believe you. If he owes you money, then why don't you have a star? Amalei Rabbanan Ravashi, Rabbanan said to Ravashi, Kamekayim Ravina Kol Mad Omer Rabban. They told Ravashi that Ravina follows all the advice of the rabbis. So Ravashi wanted to test him. Sholach le Bahadi Fanya de Mali Shapsa. He sent him right before Shabbos when people are rushed. Lishtoli Mara Asara Zuzi, please send me 10 zuz quickly. Disrami li Katina Da'ara Lemizvah, because I found a great property to buy. I need it right away. So Shalach le Ravina sent him Neisi Mar Sadeh, let the master provide witnesses, V'nichtav Ksava, and write a note. So Ravashi said, come on, even me? Shalach le afilu anon nami? Even me? Shalach le kol shechein mar. Of course the master. The Torah Begir say, you're involved in your learning. Mishtale, you'll forget. V'gerim klol alatzmi. And then I'll cause myself to be cursed. You have to mention over here the Maisa with the Rishash. Right? The Maisa with the Rishash. It comes right away to your mind. The Rishash had a Gemach. The Rishash, the great Rishash. The Rishash wrote on all of Shas. Anytime somebody learns and he had a question, he says, let's see if the Rishash asks the question. So he was learning, and somebody came to pay something up. So he took it from him and he stuck it in his Gemara and he forgot all about it. Forgot all about it. There's no such thing. The Gemara says that Rav Ashi could do it. Rav Ashi is the editor of Shas, Ravina Rav Ashi. Right? And he forgot all about it. Okay, he looked, checking his books. He came up and he said to him, pay your loan. So he says, what do you mean? I paid it. So he says, I don't have it. He says, swear. The man wouldn't swear. So he went ahead and he sold half of his property. And then, in the meantime, everybody is calling him a thief. That 5 months later, Rishash takes out that sefer and he finds the money. Calls him up to, so what could I do to him? He said, what could you do? I'm ruined. I can't get a shidduch. He said, you know what? I'll give you my child as a shidduch. That's how he repaired it. He gave his child as a shidduch. But anyway, Tan Rabbanan. Wow. I feel like making a Hineni Mamuchan. Hineni Mamuchan Mazum the Kayim, completing Ezer Neshach and Azab. Tan Rabbanan. Ask Ruvain, Irving. They've been learning with me for a very long time. Do I make such a big deal about finishing things so usually? I don't. Tan Rabbanan. Shleishet Tzayikin ve'eina nenin. 3 people cry out and they're not answered because they brought it on themselves. Ve'eluhein mishiyesh le'moyes u'mal v'yisan shaloi beidim. Somebody has money and he gives out a loan without witnesses. You brought it on yourself. Why didn't you have witnesses? And somebody who acquires a boss over himself, we'll see what that is in a minute. And one who has a wife who dominates him. I guess he brought it upon himself by marrying her. What does it mean that he acquires a master over himself? Some say it means that in order to get out, they wanted to make him the guest of honor. And in order to get himself out of being a guest of honor, he said that his property belongs to a guy. And the guy set up witnesses and then said, you see, he said, His property belongs to me. So that's one thing. Ikad Amrei Toilin Nechasa Benakri. Ikad Amrei, he wants to get out of, they want him to pay tuitions for different people. So he gives his money to his children. Ikad Amrei HaKosim Nechasa V'banav B'chaya. He writes his money to his children, and then when he wants to spend money to go away for Pesach, they tell him, no, that's too much money. He bought himself a master over himself. Ikad Amri de Bishlei Behimasa, somebody who was having bad luck in one city, and he doesn't switch his location. We know, Mishana Moka, Mishana Mazel. By not switching his location, he's bringing the bad luck upon himself. Hadron Lach is a Neshech. Hadron Lach is a Neshech. Hadron Lach is a Neshech. And now we're going to say Sphira before we do the Mishnah Yomis. L'shem yichud kod shebirich shchintay b'tchiruchim l'leachad shem yudkei v'vavkei. Yichud Hashem Hashem kol Yisrael l'muchim l'zum l'kayim mitzvah shel Sphira Zaymer. Kimo yishei kos b'atar Yisvat l'muchim l'machas HaShabbos. Miyayim aviyachem esayv b'atum v'shev Shabbos t'mim esniyana. Ad mimachas HaShabbos ha'shvius tishbu chamishim yayim. V'kraftem mincha chadash al Adonai. V'nayim Adonai aleinu aleinu ma'isi yadeinu kanin aleinu. U'ma'isi yadeinu kainaneyu baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al sfiras omer hayom echad v'esrim yom shem shloisha shavuos la'omer. Amen. First of all, Rabbi Isai Mazel Tov on the finishing of Ezo Neshech. Also, we are looking for a sponsor for Emor. We do not have yet a sponsor for Emor. So somebody out there wants to step up, let me know.